part of an audiobook written by Michael Spector that you believed an institutional should make it hard for people to live their lives so they'd feel pressured to get vaccinated. Could we run the audio clip on that, please?
You think can be done about it? I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term. Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Thank you.
Buddy, you're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and that's not what I was referring to.
Well, in reference to making it hard for people to get education, traveling, working, I'd say it very much was in context.
Is recognizing the founder of the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. Today, Pennsylvania Congressman Brendan Boyle presented a congressional citation to Dr. Alice Stanford. Congress honored the group's outreach and humanitarian efforts in administering COVID-19 tests and vaccines to Philadelphia's Black community during the pandemic. The consortium began operating 1 year ago.
So what we did personally is we looked at all the people we vaccinated with J&J from March 12th, which is when we started. So really about a month. And then we separated out the women between ages, and we went 18 to 50. And we're sending out educational information to them by email. We're calling those that don't have email addresses and specifically ask them about any symptoms they may have had, if they've been hospitalized, and to let them know what things they may be at greater risk. For example, if they're on blood thinner medications or they take non-steroidals or aspirin, that they really need to have a conversation with their doc.
And let's
the lack of response so far in the Black and brown neighborhoods.
I'm disappointed. I didn't want to be a part of another meeting. I wanted to go out and do something.
And Dr. Ayla Stanford has been busy since. More than 2 weeks ago, she stepped up to provide coronavirus testing for Philly's predominantly Black neighborhoods.
Being a physician scientist, I know that if you want to move the needle and affect change in those communities, you have to go where people are.
Now this Philly native is making national headlines, forming the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, working in a city where the virus's death rate is 54% among African Americans. We've seen them test at local churches like Enon Tabernacle Baptist, where they helped prominent pastor Alan Waller learn he was positive.
Going by the guidelines of exposed or symptoms, I would not have been tested.
Dr. Stanford's movement started with a few phone calls to friends and her own money.
When you were at these churches and you see the lines wrapped around the church, you speak to someone and they say, thank you. What does that mean to you?
It warms my heart.
As of Monday, the consortium has raised $100,000, money that provides for more tests.
What do you need from the city of Philadelphia? What do you need from the state of Pennsylvania?
Support.
The consortium will be in South Philly Tuesday. Dr. Stanford says they'll continue working until the cases and deaths fall and the hospitals are no longer in crisis mode. Brandon Hudson, NBC 10 News.
On defense.
When you're dealing with a new...
Dr. Anthony Fauci, on defense.
When you're dealing with a new outbreak, things change.
And dismissing claims he played any part in a suggested cover-up of COVID origins.
The accusation being circulated is absolutely false and simply preposterous.
The doctor, who retired 18 months ago, back in the spotlight as part of a Republican-led investigation into the pandemic's origins and response. A hearing at times turning testy.
Mr. Fauci, because you're not doctor, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Don't suspend.
Fauci explaining what he meant when he testified behind closed doors in January that the 6-foot social distancing rule sort of just appeared, according to transcripts, now clarifying it came from the CDC with no clinical trials done.
You didn't feel an obligation as the lead scientist at the NIH to challenge that.
I've challenged the CDC multiple times.
Fauci served in his government role since 1984, advising 7 presidents of both parties, and was a prominent expert in the fight against diseases like HIV/AIDS. Back when COVID started spreading, he became the pandemic's public face, appearing in briefings, in magazines.
Here's Dr. Anthony Fauci
on late-night shows. But since then, he's become politically polarizing, alternately idolized or demonized. Overnight, Fauci saying the vitriol he faces, including on Capitol Hill, means he still gets death threats even while out of government service.
You have performances like that unusual performance by Marjorie Taylor Greene in today's hearing. Those are the kind of things that drive up the death threats.
Testifying emotionally now about the death threats his family has faced.
It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because
they
involve my wife and my 3 daughters.
You lie. You put people's lives in danger.
Dishonest people. Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus. They're politicizing it. We did one of the great jobs. You say, how's President Trump doing? They go, oh, not good, not good. They have no clue. They don't have any clue. They can't even count their votes in Iowa. They can't even count. No, they can't. They can't count their votes. One of my people came up to me and said, Mr. President, they tried to beat you on Russia. That didn't work out too well. They couldn't do it. They tried the impeachment hoax. That was on a perfect conversation. They tried anything. They tried it over and over. They've been doing it since she got in. It's all turning. They lost. It's all turning. Think of it. Think of it. And this is their new hoax. But, you know, we did something that's been pretty amazing. We're 15 people in this massive country. And because of the fact that we went early, we could have had a lot more than that. We're doing great. Our country is doing so great. We are so unified. We are so unified.
Vaccine, if it was released now. If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Hey everybody, good morning. We come on the air with breaking news. President Biden, in his final hours, his final morning in office, has issued several high-profile pardons.
Among those pardoned this morning, Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and the members and staff who served on the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack on the Capitol,
right here,
Liz Cheney.
And police officers who have spoken out as well from the Capitol Police. Let's go right to Chief White House Correspondent Peter Alexander. This just broke 10 minutes ago. Peter, what do you know?
Savannah, as NBC News first reported, President Biden, even yesterday, I'm told, was very seriously considering using this extraordinary presidential power to preemptively pardon some individuals. And this morning, as we are reporting, it is clear that he has decided to do just that in these final hours in office to guard against any potential revenge by the incoming Trump administration, by the incoming President Trump. President Biden just announcing, as you note, that he is pardoning Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and members of the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack on the Capitol. That includes Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, Adam Kinzinger, among others, as well as Capitol and D.C. police who testified before that committee. I want to share with you part of what the president writes. He says, in part, our nation relies on dedicated, selfless public servants every day. They are the lifeblood of our democracy. Yet alarmingly, he adds, public servants have been subjected to ongoing threats and intimidation for faithfully discharging their duties. Notably, his last comments in this statement add that these pardons, he says, should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing, he says, nor should acceptance by them be misconstrued as any admission of guilt for any offense. He says our nation, quote, owes these public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment to our country. Now, let's back up for a moment. President Trump, incoming President Trump, as you know, has been a fierce critic and has really railed against so many of those individuals that are receiving these pardons today. Most recently, in late December of last year, Donald Trump verbally attacked Liz Cheney, saying that she committed, quote, egregious and unthinkable acts of crime. That was December 22nd, less than a month ago. Of Mark Milley, in the past, he suggested that he deserved execution. In effect, that some of the actions he had taken in the past would have been worthy of execution. So to be clear, Joe Biden, some of his final actions now to preemptively pardon some of those high-profile figures. Savannah.
And I was like, damn, that motherfucker has dementia.